There are a lot of mixed reviews for the Fable trilogy. A lot of people will say that it's highly overrated. Some will say it's perfectly rated. I personally say it's a little underrated. I love that trilogy, and I think that it was a little bit more innovative than people like to give it credit for. It was one of the first games I've ever played where I can visibly see my environment changing because of the decisions that I made around me. It was also one of the only games that I've seen in like a Western RPG setting that had such a crude humor to it that you couldn't help but to fall in love with it. At first, you kind of don't really take Fable too seriously until you really start investing yourself and realize that you're taking this game a little bit more seriously than you actually anticipated. And I think that's kind of the charm on Fable. It kind of just like grows on you. Now, Fable had an amazing trilogy. I personally liked it before the Industrial Revolution. Like many, I don't think that the third entry was exactly the best. I really liked it when it was pretty much just like sticks and stones, swords and magic. Really, that was probably, in my opinion, peak Fable is 1 and 2. Lionhead Studio was actually purchased by Microsoft after the success of the trilogy. And Microsoft, being Microsoft, stuck their hand in the pot a little too much and ended up ruining the game. And in 2016, Fable Legends actually got canceled, unfortunately, leaving us all wondering what the $75 million game would have actually played like. Would it have been an enhancement from the trilogy? Would it have been better than the third at least? Nobody knows. They were getting a little too handsy with the gameplay and tried to force the Xbox Kinect to be a part of the essential core gameplay of Fable Legends, which is actually extremely upsetting even in retrospect today in 2024. Why were they trying to force the Kinect on that game? That dated technology is one of the only reasons why we didn't get another Fable. And after that fiasco, I think that every fan was assured that the door was going to be slammed shut on the franchise. I thought that Microsoft had given up on Fable as a whole. In fact, I don't think any great franchises from the Xbox 360 era have resurrected from the grave and actually had some serious success. I mean, we haven't seen much from Gears of War. Gears of War 5 wasn't incredible. Halo 5 was not incredible. The best thing that 343 has done for Halo is basically remaster what Bungie has already made. And Fable was MIA after the scrapped Fable Legends title. It seems like some of my favorite childhood games for the Xbox 360 were getting stepped on until 2023. We are getting a new Fable, and a lot of my comments on some of my most recent videos have actually expressed that they had no idea that this was happening. In June of 2023, it was formally announced that the new Fable game is going to be made by Playground Games, and it will be their first stab at making an RPG game. Now, one of the biggest pros of this is obviously that Forza has incredibly good photorealistic, amazing graphics that are optimized to hell. Forza can run in 4K at an optimal amount of frames per second, which tells me that they not only know how to make beautiful games, but they can optimize them so I don't get motion sick while I'm driving a car. A lot of these RPGs today are trying to push a lot of 30 frames per second, and while I don't exactly think 30 frames per second is a deal breaker for a game, nor does it make it a terrible game. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 was 30 frames per second, but it was also a game that was made damn near 6 years ago. At some point, I do feel as if we do need to push the needle a little bit forward, especially with new-gen consoles. There's a lot of rumors floating around that Microsoft only uses proprietary engines for their games. So basically saying that they're not going to use things like Epic's Unreal Engine 5 and that they're going to use their own engine similar to what games like Call of Duty does. And if that's the case, we might get an engine for Fable that's very similar or the same as Forza's. Which brings us to the first trailer of Fable that we saw in June 2023 in the Xbox Showcase. And I did not see that there was actual in-game footage. The whole time I was looking at this and I was thinking these might be vertical slices. This could just be a little engine flex. This could just be them showing what we could see. I thought that maybe there were cinematics, but no, some of this was actual in-game footage, which is essentially just peeling back the HUD and the UI and just showing us what it really looks like. And I was very, very impressed by the overall look. However, graphics are not everything. During this video, I wanted them to capture the aura, the essence of what a normal Fable game would be like. Western kind of European RPG with some funny antics, some chicken kicking, a little bit of humor, some dark sides, maybe a couple bandits. We saw a Balverine. We saw a lot in this. And in my next video, I'm going to be sure to break down every bit that you probably missed, whether you were a casual fan, whether you just got introduced to the franchise, or you're an absolute nerd. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to show you something that you did not notice inside of this trailer. Because unfortunately, that's about all we've got. A lot of people were expecting to see something, maybe at Game of the Year awards or some type of like big event. There was the Xbox Developer Dive where they showed Indiana Jones and Hellblade 2, but they did not show anything for Fable at all. Not even an update, not even a glimpse, not even like a, hey, here's a reminder, we're really excited about Fable, guys, get hyped up because this game's coming eventually. And that is very concerning from Xbox, who has actually made tweets tweets about Fable, then redacted them and didn't even show any progress in the game or any announcements regarding or surrounding Fable. And also considering Microsoft doesn't have an amazing reputation for carrying forward that Xbox 360 classic era of IPs. It is very unlike them to make no announcements for almost an entire year about a game that we all know that there's very high anticipation and hopes. I think Jez Corden is very reliable, and when he says that something is going wrong, something is very likely going wrong. And unfortunately, a lot of the signs are pointing toward the engine issue. Now, we spoke about the engine policy that they have with Microsoft internally, where they don't like to use outsourced engines, and even if they have to outsource contractors to use their in-house engines, well, then that's probably what the move is going to be for them. Company policies report that there's a slighter higher than normal turnover, with the developers frequently needing to replace key staff members, which is exactly what happened with Halo Infinite because, well, they were just stressed the out. And then they get replaced by contractors that come in with little to no experience on Fable's modified Forza Tech engine, which then confirms that we are going to see a modified Forza Tech engine, which is actually pretty good news. Reliance on these contractors may still be an issue even if Playground Games wasn't committed to using an in-house engine. No matter what engine you're using, it really doesn't seem to matter. I mean, you could probably hire a lot more people that are used to working on Unreal Engine 5 than some really niche engine like Forza's engine, for example. But I also feel as if there's a bigger picture issue happening in Microsoft. It is worth reiterating that these are just rumors to conjecture. I don't care. I mean, like, how many times do we have to hear about these rumors and then find out months, maybe sometimes years later, like on instance Halo Infinite, that a lot of these issues were exactly the problem. Where there's smoke, there is usually fire. And in this case, there seems to be a lot of issues with what's going on with the development of Fable. It seems to be in a standstill right now. To much respect to Playground Games, because they actually do make some of, in my opinion, the best games that Xbox has in exclusivity, which is the Forza series. I think the Forza series is one of the most reliable, beautiful, working, functional, and desired games that Microsoft has to offer in the current market. If Playground Games was an independent contractor and they did not have that big umbrella, I genuinely think that we would have had Fable this year. So if anybody was wondering what the history, the background, everything that's going on with Fable and why we're pumping the brakes on that, why you haven't heard anything from Fable in quite some time now, this seems to be one of the biggest reasons. And guys, it frustrates me to absolute no end. We're halfway through March, April, May, June. So we're about 3 months out, give or take some change, to the June Xbox showcase, where I am absolutely going to lose hope if we don't at the very least hear a little update about Fable. So guys, I will give you any update. Like I said, I've been looking, I've been scraping everywhere I possibly can. LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter, everything. I'm even following some employees. I'm doing everything I can. I'm going to be giving you updates not only on Fable, but other games. But this is actually like a pure passion project of mine because I have such a love for Fable. So if you're a fan of Fable and you're kind of itching like I am, I promise you I'm going to be a great source of info. As soon as I get my hands on something, check it out. Like and subscribe.